In a world that never stops moving, where life is a constant whirlwind of activity, there's one question that has haunted humanity since the dawn of time. What happens to consciousness after death? We live our lives chasing dreams, building relationships, and accumulating experiences. But what becomes of us, the essence of who we are, when the body ceases to function? Is consciousness merely a byproduct of the brain, or does it transcend the physical realm? Today, we embark on a journey to explore one of the most profound mysteries of existence. Drawing from ancient Buddhist teachings, modern science, and philosophical inquiry, we'll delve into the nature of consciousness, the concept of death, and what may lie beyond. This is not just a theoretical exploration. It's an invitation to reflect on your own life, your fears, and your understanding of what it means to be. So, let's begin by asking, what is consciousness? And why does its fate after death matter so deeply to us? Every day we wake up, go about our routines, and interact with the world around us. But have you ever stopped to ask, who is the I that's experiencing all of this? Consciousness is the thread that weaves together our thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. It's what allows us to experience the beauty of a sunset, the warmth of a loved one's embrace, and the pain of loss. But what happens to this thread when the body dies? Does it unravel, or does it continue in some form? Buddhism offers a unique perspective on this question. Unlike many traditions that view death as an end, Buddhism sees it as a transition, a moment where consciousness shifts from one state to another. But to understand this, we must first explore what consciousness truly is. From a scientific perspective, consciousness is often linked to the brain. Neurons fire, chemicals interact, and somehow this creates the experience of being you. But is that all there is? Buddhism challenges this view. It teaches that consciousness is not confined to the physical body. Instead, it's a continuous stream, a flow of awareness that transcends individual lifetimes. This concept, known as Vijnana in Sanskrit, suggests that consciousness is not something we have, it's something we are. But if consciousness is not tied to the brain, where does it go when the body dies? And how can we, as living beings, begin to understand this profound mystery? Imagine a flame. When one candle is extinguished, its flame can be used to light another. The flame is not the same, yet it carries the essence of what came before. In Buddhism, this is often used as a metaphor for consciousness. When the body dies, consciousness doesn't simply vanish. It transitions, carrying with it the imprints of past actions, thoughts, and intentions. This is the foundation of the Buddhist concept of rebirth. But rebirth is not about a soul traveling from one body to another. It's about the continuation of a process, much like the flame passing from one candle to the next. So, what does this mean for you? What happens to your consciousness when your time in this life comes to an end? These questions may feel overwhelming, even unsettling. But they are also an invitation, a call to explore the nature of your own consciousness, not just in death, but in life. As we move forward in this exploration, we'll delve deeper into Buddhist teachings on death and rebirth, examine scientific theories about consciousness, and reflect on how understanding these concepts can transform the way we live. So, take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey together. Because the question of what happens to consciousness after death is not just about the end. It's about understanding the very essence of who we are. In the next part of our exploration, we'll dive deeper into the nature of consciousness. Is it merely a product of the brain? Or does it exist beyond the physical realm? Join us as we uncover the mysteries of the mind and its connection to the universe. Consciousness, the very essence of our experience, is often seen as a product of the brain. But is it really that simple? Can the brain alone explain the depth and complexity of our inner world? In this part of our journey, we'll explore the nature of consciousness. Is it merely a biological phenomenon? Or does it extend beyond the physical realm? To answer this, we'll turn to both science and spirituality. Beginning with what modern neuroscience has to say, neuroscience has made incredible strides in understanding the brain. We now know that specific regions of the brain are responsible for different functions: memory, emotion, perception, and even self-awareness. When certain areas of the brain are damaged, aspects of consciousness can be altered or lost. For example, damage to the prefrontal cortex can affect decision-making and personality, while damage to the hippocampus can impair memory. This suggests that consciousness is deeply tied to the brain. But does this mean consciousness is only a product of the brain? Or is the brain more like a receiver, tuning into a broader field of awareness? Buddhism offers a different perspective. According to Buddhist teachings, consciousness is not confined to the brain or the body. Instead, it's seen as a continuous stream, a flow of awareness that transcends individual lifetimes. This concept, known as Vijnana, suggests that consciousness is not something we have. It's something we are. It's the ground of all experience, the space in which thoughts, emotions, and perceptions arise and pass away. But if consciousness is not tied to the brain, how does it interact with the physical world? And what evidence do we have to support this view? One area where science and spirituality intersect is the study of near-death experiences, or NDs. Many people who have been clinically dead, with no brain activity, report vivid experiences of floating outside their bodies, moving through tunnels of light, and encountering beings of love and wisdom. These experiences challenge the idea that consciousness is solely a product of the brain. If the brain is inactive during clinical death, how can people have such vivid and coherent experiences? Some scientists argue that NDEs are hallucinations caused by a dying brain. But others suggest that they point to a deeper truth, that consciousness may exist independently of the physical body. Quantum physics also offers intriguing insights into the nature of consciousness. At the subatomic level, particles behave in ways that defy classical physics. They can exist in multiple states at once, appear and disappear unpredictably, and even be influenced by the act of observation. Some theorists propose that consciousness plays a fundamental role in the universe, that it's not just an emergent property of the brain, but a fundamental aspect of reality itself. This idea aligns with certain Buddhist teachings, which suggest that consciousness is not separate from the universe, but an integral part of it. So, is consciousness more than the brain? The evidence, both scientific and spiritual, suggests that it might be. As we reflect on the nature of consciousness, one thing becomes clear. It's a mystery that transcends easy explanations. Whether we view it through the lens of science, spirituality, or both, consciousness remains one of the most profound and elusive aspects of existence. But perhaps the most important question is not what consciousness is, but how we can deepen our understanding of it. By exploring our own inner world, through meditation, self-inquiry, and mindful living, we can begin to glimpse the true nature of awareness. In the next part of our journey, we'll delve into the Buddhist concept of rebirth and how it relates to the continuity of consciousness. What happens to our awareness when the body dies? And how does it shape our future experiences? Join us as we explore these questions and more. Life is a cycle, a continuous flow of beginnings and endings. Just as a seed grows into a tree, which then produces new seeds, our lives are part of a larger process of transformation. But what happens to us, our consciousness, when the body dies? Does it simply end, or does it continue in some form? This is where the Buddhist concept of rebirth comes into play. In this part of our journey, we'll explore the idea of rebirth and how it relates to the continuity of consciousness. Is rebirth a literal process, or is it a metaphor for something deeper? Let's begin by understanding what rebirth means in Buddhism. In Buddhism, rebirth is not about a soul traveling from one body to another. Unlike the concept of reincarnation found in some traditions, rebirth in Buddhism is about the continuation of a process, the flow of consciousness shaped by karma. Karma, in this context, refers to the intentional actions we take in life. Every thought, word, and deed leaves an imprint on our consciousness, influencing our future experiences. When the body dies, these imprints propel consciousness into a new form, much like a flame passing from one candle to another. But this raises an important question. If there's no permanent soul, what is it that continues? What is the nature of this flow of consciousness? Imagine a river. The water is constantly flowing, yet the river itself remains. In the same way, consciousness is a continuous stream, ever-changing, yet always present. Buddhism teaches that this stream of consciousness is not a fixed entity, but a dynamic process. It's shaped by our actions, thoughts, and intentions, which create the conditions for future experiences. So when we talk about rebirth, we're not talking about a thing that moves from one life to the next. We're talking about a process, a flow of cause and effect that carries the imprints of our past into the future. This process of rebirth is not limited to one lifetime. According to Buddhist teachings, it continues across countless lives, each one shaped by the karma of previous actions. But rebirth is not just about the past. It's also about the present. Every moment, we have the opportunity to shape our future. By cultivating positive actions, thoughts, and intentions, we can create the conditions for a more peaceful and fulfilling existence, both in this life and beyond. This is why mindfulness and ethical living are so important in Buddhism. They are not just practices for personal growth. They are tools for shaping the future of our consciousness. Rebirth, then, is not just a philosophical concept. It's a call to action. It reminds us that our choices matter, not just for this life, but for the future of our consciousness. But what happens when we break free from the cycle of rebirth? What happens when we attain enlightenment? In the next part of our journey, we'll explore the ultimate goal of Buddhist practice, liberation from the cycle of birth and death. What does it mean to transcend rebirth, and how can we achieve it? Join us as we delve into the profound teachings of enlightenment. At the heart of Buddhism lies a profound aspiration, the desire to break free from the cycle of birth and death, to transcend suffering, and to attain a state of perfect peace and wisdom. This state is known as enlightenment or nirvana. But what does it mean to be enlightened? Is it a distant, unattainable ideal, or something we can experience in our daily lives? In this part of our journey, we'll explore the concept of enlightenment and how it offers liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Let's begin by understanding what enlightenment truly means. Enlightenment is often associated with the Buddha, who achieved this state after years of intense meditation and self-inquiry. But enlightenment is not exclusive to the Buddha. It's a potential within all of us. At its core, enlightenment is the realization of the true nature of reality. It's the understanding that the self we cling to is an illusion, that all phenomena are impermanent, and that suffering arises from attachment and ignorance. When we see reality as it truly is, we free ourselves from the cycle of rebirth. We no longer create the karma that binds us to samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Instead, we experience the ultimate freedom, nirvana. But how do we achieve this freedom? The path to enlightenment is not about escaping the world or rejecting life. It's about transforming our relationship with reality. The Buddha taught the Noble Eightfold Path as a guide to enlightenment. This path includes ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. By living ethically, cultivating mindfulness, and developing insight, we can gradually free ourselves from the causes of suffering. Enlightenment is not a sudden event. It's a process of awakening. It's about seeing through the illusions of the ego, letting go of attachments, and realizing the interconnectedness of all things. One of the key practices on the path to enlightenment is meditation. Through meditation, we learn to quiet the mind, observe our thoughts without attachment, and cultivate a deep sense of inner peace. As we meditate, we begin to see that our thoughts and emotions are not who we are. They are like clouds passing through the sky, temporary, ever-changing, and ultimately empty. This realization is a crucial step toward enlightenment. When we no longer identify with our thoughts and emotions, we free ourselves from the cycle of craving and aversion, which are the root causes of suffering. Enlightenment is not just a personal achievement, it's also a profound expression of compassion. In Mahayana Buddhism, the ideal of the bodhisattva embodies this principle. A bodhisattva is someone who seeks enlightenment not just for themselves, but for the benefit of all beings. This reminds us that enlightenment is not about withdrawing from the world, but about engaging with it in a more meaningful and compassionate way. When we free ourselves from the cycle of rebirth, we also free others by showing them the path to liberation. Enlightenment is the ultimate goal of Buddhist practice, but it's also a journey that begins right here, right now. Every moment of mindfulness, every act of kindness, and every insight into the nature of reality brings us closer to the state of perfect peace and wisdom. Enlightenment may seem like a distant goal, reserved for monks meditating in remote mountains, but the truth is, the path to awakening is available to all of us, right here, right now. It's not about escaping the world. It's about transforming how we live in it. In this part of our journey, we'll explore how to bring the teachings of enlightenment into our daily lives. How can we live with greater awareness, compassion, and wisdom, even in the midst of a busy and chaotic world? Let's begin by understanding what it means to live mindfully. Mindfulness is the foundation of a life lived with awareness. It's the practice of being fully present in each moment, observing our thoughts, emotions, and actions without judgment. But mindfulness is not just something we do during meditation. It's a way of being that we can bring into every aspect of our lives. It starts with small intentional actions, like taking a deep breath before starting the day, or pausing to appreciate the taste of our morning tea. These moments of presence may seem small, but they have a profound impact. They help us break free from the autopilot mode of living, where we're constantly reacting to the world around us, and instead allow us to respond with clarity and intention. One powerful way to cultivate mindfulness is through everyday activities like eating. How often do we rush through meals, barely noticing what we're consuming? Mindful eating is about bringing our full attention to the experience of eating, the taste, texture, and aroma of the food, as well as the sensations in our body. It's a simple practice, but it can transform our relationship with food and help us develop a deeper appreciation for the nourishment it provides. This same principle applies to other activities like walking, listening, or even washing the dishes. When we bring mindfulness to these moments, we turn them into opportunities for awakening. Living with awareness also means cultivating compassion for ourselves and for others. Often we're our own harshest critics, judging ourselves for our mistakes and shortcomings. But self-compassion is essential on the path to enlightenment. When we treat ourselves with kindness and understanding, we create the inner conditions for growth and transformation. And when we extend that compassion to others, we contribute to a more peaceful and harmonious world. Compassion is not just a feeling. It's an action. It's about listening deeply, offering help when needed, and recognizing the interconnectedness of all being. Another powerful practice for living with awareness is self-reflection. At the end of each day, take a few moments to reflect on your actions, thoughts, and emotions. What went well? What could have been done differently? This practice helps us learn from our experiences and align our actions with our values. It also deepens our understanding of ourselves, which is essential for spiritual growth. Journaling can be a helpful tool for self-reflection. By writing down our thoughts and insights, we create a record of our journey and gain clarity on the patterns that shape our lives. Ultimately, living with awareness is about finding peace and wisdom in the present moment. It's about recognizing that enlightenment is not a distant goal, but a way of being that we can cultivate here and now. By practicing mindfulness, compassion, and self-reflection, we create the conditions for awakening in our daily lives.